All right, episode 4, the Local Scene Podcast. We're hitting up Dave at Sudden Impact. So I'm on my way over there. Should be there in a few minutes. I'll meet up with Tony. Tony's, I think picking up some money from somewhere and then, driving that $1 million van he's got. So, Local Scene, check it out. Mr. Moneybags already here. I said you just rolled up in your $1 million van.
Yeah, my $1 million.
Yeah, just rolled up in the $1 million van.
$26 van.
Oh, that's definitely not cheap. Oh yeah, look at that. Wow, must be nice. Must be nice. What's up, guys? It's Jamie from Street Trends Metal Art.
And it's Tony from the Summer Sundoff Car Show. And today we're here with Dave from Sudden Impact. So we're here at Sudden Impact. Why don't you explain to the people watching what exactly is this shop?
We're a custom automotive shop. We do hot rods, trucks, SUVs. We do air ride suspension, audio, upholstery, a little bit of everything. If it's got a motor, for the most part, we'll work on it. We specialize in air ride suspension, custom trunk setups, metal fabrication, hot rods, full suspension fabrication, and frame off restoration work.
How did you get started in cars? Like, what fascinated you with cars?
When I was little, my father worked at a few different auto body shops painting cars, and I grew up watching him do smaller restoration projects in our garage in the backyard. So from when I was 8 years old, living at the house that we had with the garage, I've watched him build and paint and do engine work and build his own cars and stuff like that over the years.
Okay.
And as I got older, I got into car audio, and it grew from there. I did speaker boxes in the backyard and stuff like that, and from there it was from doing all my friends' cars and stuff like that, and then it grew into other people, friends of friends, and word of mouth. It just got busier and busier to the point where when I was 23 we opened the shop and started doing just strictly custom audio and stuff like that.
So what was the first car that you bought that you modified?
My very first car, which was a 1984 Cutlass.
Okay.
Before the car's brakes were fixed and it was running properly. It had a stereo, Sony CD player and stuff like that, which back then having a CD player instead of a tape deck
You was a baller.
Yeah. I ended up putting like 15-inch Dayton wire wheels on it and stuff like that.
So was this was before you were doing it like professionally?
Yeah, I was only like 17 to when I was like 19 I had that car.
Okay.
And that was like my first car besides driving like my parents' car and shit like that. I was in the backyard putting the stereo in it before the thing needed brakes. My father's like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" Like, I'm 17 years old thinking it's the greatest thing. My uncle gave it to me when I was 14, and for a few years just worked on that and got it running and happy and stuff like that. And then I actually to this day wish I never got rid of it. I got rid of it because as I got out of high school, the Fast and the Furious came out, and that was the big thing. So my G-body wasn't cool anymore, and I fucking was tired of fixing it because it had stupid little issues, and I sold it for $700 and used that money as a down payment on a Mazda MX-6, and stupidest shit I ever did.
You started customizing the cars, and then how did you decide that was going to be your profession?
So before I opened my own shop, I had I don't know, I had this thing for stereo systems. I was like getting, Mini Truckin' magazine, Hot Rod magazine, the Car Audio magazine back then, and just watching all these things be built. And my father was working on hot rods and muscle cars because when I was a kid, that's what there was. The tuner scene didn't exist in like the 80s and 90s and shit like that as much as it does now. So I was just big into stereos, so I ended up going to a school called Rye Top, which was this place up in Watertown called Rich's Cartoons. That was like the biggest stereo shop in New England at the time. And he opened a school to train people on audio fabrication, on how to, do an install properly and stuff like that. Went there, graduated from there, went and worked at the local Boom and McLeod. Installed a ton of those Pioneer radios with the Dolphins on them. Jamie's favorite fucking radio ever. I know.
I looked.
I literally, dude, in the 2 years I worked there, I literally installed over 100 of those things. Like, we did several a week, like at least 2 or 3 a week, and just like so many Honda Civics, dude.
That was probably the first screen that actually had like LED, movement,
like, yeah, it had movement and stuff like that. It did the weird like trippy box thing, the Dolphins, and it had like speakers and stuff, and a Galaxy thing, I think, and stuff like that. And there was like that, and then the what the hell was the other one, like the JVC Chameleon, the one that went all flat and black and looked
Tony,
like.
you probably had so much money, you probably had both. Right?
JVC had another one that would flip around and go black, and it was like a flat black panel on it, so it would like hit itself and look like a faceplate wasn't there and stuff like that. But yeah, I started out doing car audio at a few other shops, worked in another shop doing a bunch of Patriots players cars and stuff like that, Rad Customs up in Norwood. But working with these other places, I just always wanted to, I don't know, do my own thing, and eventually it just wasn't working out at those 2 places. So my father kind of was like, you got enough side work where just get yourself a small shop and, start doing it that way. And we opened up a small bay here in Whitman. It was like 1.5 cars with a little showroom and an office, and started out there. And within the first year, we upsized. It wasn't even a full year later. I think it was within 9 months we moved to a bigger, I think it was like 1,200 square foot bay in Rockland, Mass, right on the Abington-Rockland line. And at that point, went from doing just stereos to everybody kept coming in for, audio work. And then, hey, I have this hydro setup or this air ride setup. While you're in there doing the trunk setup, can you fix this? Can you work on this? There was another shop that both you two know quite well, Motion Hydraulics, and they were the only game in the area at the time. And at the time, there was no bolt-on strut kits. It wasn't easy. Nowadays, like, you got these shops that have opened up in after 2020, and it's like, it's easier nowadays for everybody to say they're an accessory shop and open up. Back when Steve started out at Motion and when we started out, there were no kits. There was no bolt-in stuff back then. Everything, there was no air struts, like you guys both knew, those air cylinders and shit.
Figuring it out.
So rough.
Yeah, dude, I fixed so many cylinder kits where it was just like, we had the O-rings in stock for the 3 major types of cylinders that different companies used. It was crazy because it was a product that wasn't designed to be in an automobile. Those cylinders are designed to open the doors of car washes, like the automated like doors and shit like that. Yeah. And just people started doing that because they figured a hydraulic cylinder, this is an air cylinder, it'll do the same thing, whereas a hydraulic cylinder is a lot stronger and will withstand the abuse that driving down the road is going to put on it and strain and stuff like that. So we started doing a ton of repair work on air ride jobs and hydraulic jobs. And then one day we were at that shop and my cousin was reading Mini Truckin' Magazine, and on the back page of Mini Truckin' Magazine was an ad for this company called Lowrider Depot, and they sold air suspension parts, valve blocks, individual valves, airbags, 4 links, bag brackets, airbags, everything. And I ended up setting up an account with them, so we started purchasing all of our air ride components directly from them, and then that way there was something else we could offer to our customers. And from there it's just snowballed to what we're doing today, where we're doing full frame off builds on trucks like this 66 Chevy. We pulled the whole body off, the bed off, and we're putting a LS motor and doing an entire suspension kit. It's come a long way. We went from just doing small speaker boxes and working on simple stuff in the backyard to here we are 20 years later. I honestly couldn't tell you how the hell I did it. I barely graduated high school. I got no real former business training of any sort.
So you'd say you went from installing radios to a one-stop shop?
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah, that's literally,
Self-taught,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
funny because that's what our first logo was, the one-stop custom
Okay.
shop.
Yeah.
And it was like a phrase that we were using back in 2004 when we opened. Yeah, it's been great, like working with my father, dude. Like most people don't get to spend enough time with family members, and it's not like the drama you see on Orange County choppers and shit. Like him and I, yeah, we've had a couple, you know, we've yelled at each other a few times over
Throwing
stupid
chairs.
shit, but no throwing chairs, no damaging fucking shit, no
Agreeing
getting
to
crazy.
disagree.
Yeah, that's about it. You
Yeah.
know, you guys both know my dad. He's pretty laid back. I'm also, for the most part, pretty laid back. So, but no, it's been great. Like he's taught me a ton. I've taught him a ton,
Yeah.
and we really complement each other. Like I, you know, focus on some of the more, you know, as far as building the cars, I do the trunk setups, the audio stuff. He does a little more of the metal fabrication and paint and body work because that's what he's done for the last 40 years. That you know, he was doing it long before we opened the shop, and we've been in business for 20 years now. So he's got more experience than most people will forget about in building cars and stuff like that. So it's been great. I've been lucky to do that, and now my son is actually here helping out part-time and is going to be taking over hopefully. And
So 3 generations.
yeah, yep.
That's pretty cool.
Over all these years, the amount of shops that you've seen come and go, what do you think is it that keeps you guys going? Where all these other places are closing their doors? Because I can think of like 4 different air ride installers that are no longer around.
A lot of places, they kind of fold under the pressure of hurry up and get it done. Customers want their car like as quick as possible. I understand everybody wants their car as quick as possible. But at the same time, I want it done properly. I want the car done right, especially when it
Safe.
comes, safety, especially when it comes to air suspension. You want to go fuck up someone's stereo, yeah, you might catch a car on fire. You're not going to put someone's life at risk.
Yeah.
You fuck up an air suspension install and an airline is too close to the, you know, exhaust or something like that. That car fails at 70, 80 miles an hour on the highway. It can not only kill the people in the car, it can kill people around them when they cause an accident.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people that ride in their car with their kids and stuff like that.
Yep.
You want to make sure the car's safe. If it takes a little time to get it done right and people are more upset that it took a little longer, I'd rather you upset it took a little longer than you upset that your car broke down on the highway on you or caused an accident, you know? And it's just like anything, like this Bel Air, for instance. This thing came in for us to do an air suspension install on it. We got a bolt-on kit, got everything here and ready, and as soon as I put the car up in the air, I started to take the trunk apart to do the air suspension components like the tank compressors and valves, and I realized that the entire trunk floor was Swiss cheese and rotted. So I told the customer, like, if the car's not safe, the body mounts aren't attached, we can put all this fancy suspension stuff in, but we got to make it safe. So just like with a lot of jobs, you start with doing something else and roll into a whole nother issue with the car that you have to fix. And we luckily can, you know, take care of most of those needs for most cars and most clients and stuff like that. So
what's your take on the air ride from the early 2000s to now? What's your night and day?
It's night and day. Oh yeah, it's crazy the difference. I mean, you guys had it, the individual brass valves, and there
Do you
were.
miss the old stuff at all, ever?
I mean, I still do some installs like that. Like just a couple years back, we had a full-size Chevy in here that was, you know, a fully built truck, cam motor, built transmission, big wheels, and the kid had huge valve system and half-inch lines, so it was super fast up and down.
Yep.
And we ended up still hooking it up with a modern AccuAir system for automatic height adjustment. So we slowed it down a little bit coming down, but it was still old school and, you know, pop off the ground just about fast when it came up and stuff like that. And that's the one thing I missed was how fast it was back then.
That's what I
Everybody
said,
had
yeah.
valves that just
Popping
boom, boom,
body kits
and
on
that
the ground.
I was gonna say, you can
pop
hear it in your
noise.
back seat.
Yeah.
You can hear it.
Well, like on the pickup trucks, like it's in the bed, so you hear that pop, pop, and you do that, and people start diving for cover like they're getting shot at and shit.
We're in Brockton. When you're close
Yeah,
to
exactly. Yeah. You got people diving into fucking
I like
the
the old
bushes.
stuff. I wish it was that quick.
Yeah, they still got it. Other companies still manufacture that stuff.
Yeah.
There's actually I don't know if you guys remember Mini Trucker Magazine. Remember Suicide Doors, the ad they had they had control arms and a 3-link and everything for S10s. Well, they now manufacture, the brass valves, but they're ugly. They look weird. Now they have, AccuAir and everybody has the tank with the valves on the end of it built into the tank and everything, so it's nice and clean. They have this same setup with the diaphragms and the fast valves built into the ends of the tank now. So you have 4 fast valves and 4 slow valves.
I need all the valves in my back seat. I don't trust it. I need all the valves in my back seat.
We'll put that in the van, so that way there, when we do your van, that thing pops right up off the ground and stuff like that. But that's the difference between the new stuff now is easy. It's simple. It's
You can call and say I have this car, and they make
and
the exact kit.
if they don't, there's companies that can custom fabricate stuff. There's bolt-on kits for 90% of platforms nowadays, from Ferraris to Fiats and shit. It's crazy. Like there's a kit for everything nowadays for the most part. If not, there's companies that, if they know what they're doing, can fabricate it for you. A lot of cars nowadays, like that have the electronic dampened suspension, you don't want to do a full-blown bolt-in strut kit, because a lot of these bolt-in struts don't have the electronic dampeners that tie into the factory suspension.
So you want to work.
With the stock strut and slide over something that still gives you those factory components for the electronic dampening and stuff like that. So a lot of the newer stuff, there are things you run into with that, especially on higher end cars like Audis, Lambos, all that type of stuff. When you do go to bag those, you are disconnecting some of those systems. Even on a lot of newer pickup trucks nowadays, doing that same stuff, like the newer Fords and everything, and Chevy Silverados, they all got electronic shocks and height sensors. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
So back in the day, there were no bolt-on kits. Now there's bolt-on kits, but there's other things that you kind of got to work around and stuff like that with the newer stuff. So there's a little bit of everything that you kind of got to deal with, and trying to have knowledge of all that stuff and watch the industry change as it has over the years. Like, it's crazy. It's tough to keep up with, and be able to work on all these different platforms and cover all these different areas and genres of the automotive industry. You guys see what we work on: tuner cars one day, pickups like this, hot rods like that, box vans and powder coat the wheels for those and stuff like that.
That's big money.
Lincolns,
Lincoln's even bigger money.
What do you think is the biggest, on the suspension wise, what do you think is the biggest advancement over the last 20 years to you?
The biggest advancement, I would say, is the digital height control systems and pressure systems and stuff like that. There's a few major players in the game like AccuAir and Airlift and stuff like that make digital control systems, and they all have height sensors for them now. There's other companies like Level Ride. They have a setup that can work with both air and hydraulics, and it's also voice activated on your phone and stuff like that. So they don't sell their kit with a controller at all. You use either your iPhone or your Android, and it all pops up on the screen. It's all automated. You say rise, and it does it through voice and stuff. So there's been a lot of advancements with the control systems. It's not just 8 valves and a 10-switch box, which that's cool and all, but
that's me. That's where I'm at. I'm at the Stone Ages still.
That shit's fun. Like having the 10 switches to and then the fast valves in the front.
I want to be like right here in my car over there, and I want to be able to play with the switches from there. I don't want to go on my phone. I want to have the switches in my hand.
That's one of the things that's crazy though. Now they have Bluetooth, so you just pull your cell phone out and you can still walk 40 feet away from the car, and it's all wireless. And it's crazy how the technology has advanced with that stuff. And some people are still old school and like to do that, and there's, like I said, companies like Dobros that's doing a little bit of both. They're mixing the newer technology with the older fast valves so that SOGs can get a little bit of everything still.
Now on the install side, stereos and stuff, what do you think has changed the most? Because just me looking at it, I feel like back in the day everybody wanted the biggest, loudest stereo, and now I think people more go for the look of the nice clean install. Just my opinion.
A lot of people try to make, if they're doing a show car, they try to make it look as flashy as possible. A lot of in California, Texas, a lot of these places, high-end stereos with like sound quality woofers under the seats and stuff, or in the trunk, and real sound quality components inside. The biggest thing that changes, back in the day, everybody would start with a head unit. You swap out your head unit, that's where you get your audio signal from. Nowadays, cars have a TV in the dash the size of what you'd have in your bedroom when you were a kid.
An iPad, right?
Yeah,
Most
pretty
cars
much.
have
My buddy's truck yesterday had like a 2-foot fucking
Yeah,
iPad.
the new, the newer Ford pickups have
Yeah,
like
that's
a
what it is, Ford.
13.5-inch
Yeah.
screen that's like
I
this.
was like,
It's
holy
huge.
crap.
So like back in the day, you would have to either get a flip up or get a radio. Now you have to get a sound processor to digitally hook to the factory system, because you can't swap the dash out. You can't take the radio out. That controls your heat, your AC. If you got a new Hellcat, that controls all your suspension components and your suspension settings and stuff like that. It's a lot. So like back in the day, you would have to just get a radio to get your audio stuff hooked up, or in the 90s, you'd have some cars with a high-low inverter if there wasn't a dash kit and you couldn't switch the radio. Nowadays, 90% of cars, you can't switch the radio or your heat controls, all that stuff won't
I
work.
remember my cousin got a like an '05 Accord, I think it was. And I used to do radio installs all the time. And then I remember the dash kit, which was normally like $60, was like $500.
Yeah, it had the heat controls
Yeah, it had all
in
the
it.
heat controls. I remember looking, I was like, I'm
yeah.
not touching this.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, nowadays, like, companies don't even bother to make an option for that now.
same.
There's like some cars that'll have a standard radio, and then you can get like the Tesla style screen to swap into a car. But if a car comes with a factory screen that big, no companies are bothered going to make components for it, because it's too expensive and stuff like that. And then when the integration fails, then you can't have your heated seats or your suspension working like it should. And it's more of a headache than most companies want to deal with as far as aftermarket stuff goes. But that's been the biggest change as far as audio, is it's gone from you replace your head unit, add your amps and your speakers. Nowadays, you have to integrate into the factory dash, and every company's different. And some cars will have 13, 14 speakers, and you're going to get audio signal from all those channels and then rerun it back out to it. And people don't realize that you can't just get a $500-$600 sub box and speakers installed nowadays. Like, it gets pretty expensive to integrate into these factory components and stuff like that now.
I never realized that, actually. I haven't had a radio in my car for fucking 10 years.
Everything's touch screen.
I have a Bluetooth
Yeah.
speaker. Well, most of the time I want to listen to my car, I didn't know it didn't break down. So I haven't had a radio.
Catch on fire.
Yeah.
All right, so you got the C10 here, you got the Bel Air over here, you got the Chevy out there. Are you good at math? Because like this is a lot of geometry to make sure all these bags fit, the 4 links this and this fits into there. Like, I know you said you didn't have like a a great background with all that other stuff, but like how do you know all these cars, the ins and outs? And
I actually am pretty good at math, believe it or not.
Right.
And that was one of the things, like through high school, like a regular sitting in school, I got ADHD. I couldn't sit still. I'd literally sleep through a math class. My teachers hated it. They, for some reason, like 3 out of 4 years in high school, my first period class was math. And I'm not awake yet, like, I'm a stoner. I wasn't dealing with that shit. I'd sleep through class, and then I'd wake up at the end of the day and ace the test, and my teacher's like, "You're not living up to your potential. Like, you could, if you put some effort forth." And I should have gone to a vocational school. I didn't. I just was with my friends. But
it's a lot of math. I've been in here and I've watched you with the measuring tape, and you're like, oh, well, when this goes down, it's gonna go to this, and then you have this, and this is the offset you need to get for these wheels for it to sit. I'm like, holy shit, man! Like, this is a lot of intake for someone that just kind of me. I just drop my car off and go, all right, let me know when it's all set. Do people understand that when they come in and they bring their cars and they go, hey, my friend has a Accord and his car's on the ground. I want mine on the ground. Do they understand like the work that goes into getting it like that?
No, a lot of people don't, because they see these quick little clips on TikTok and YouTube, and you got to catch someone's attention in a 30-second video, and they think that you can just slap in your suspension or get something done or build the whole custom car in, a few weeks, a few days. And even a lot of the cars on these TV shows, like, you may see them get done, but then there's all this behind-the-scenes stuff where they have to test it, tune it, work on it. Like, it's a lot, and like you said, it's a lot of math to get everything just right.
Yeah.
Even if you just bolted in a set of struts, what we do is we set it so that the suspension goes all the way up to the point where the wheel doesn't quite tear out the inner plastics, hopefully, and it still lays out nicely and stuff like that. So that way, God forbid something fails, people can still drive the car and stuff. But like you said, doing the offsets of wheels, you get the wrong offset and the wheels don't fit, and then people camber their car to make wheels fit and stuff like that, where if you did the mathematics and did it the right way, you could buy wheels that fit and just like with your van and stuff like that. A lot of people look at the C10 pickup truck for those years because it uses the same chassis, but the offset on the van is significantly different. Like if you put regular pickup truck wheels and the offset that would fit the pickup truck, it does not fit your van.
That happened.
Oh, I know.
That happened. That happened.
Jamie's boy over here.
Detroit Steel Wheels.
It's crazy the amount of math that goes into doing this stuff.
It's a lot. Like I said, I've sat here and I've watched you with the measuring tape. Me personally, I would like for you to kind of show that to people so that when people see that kind of stuff, they know, hey man, this wasn't an easy install. This was a lot of math. This was a lot of cutting. This was a lot of welding. Like, I feel like you kind of have to show that. Like a lot of shops don't show that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They just show you the finished product. Hey, this is what we can do.
Yeah.
It took an extra week, but I understand why. He took the whole body off the frame and he had to do this and he had to do that. It wasn't dropping my car off and like everyone always makes it seem, hey man, I dropped my car off and I had it done in a week.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of people will do an install, and a lot of these, it's a lot of people are quick to try and just make a buck. They don't actually care about they're not in it for the long haul.
Yep.
I would rather, I have a conscience. I want the cars to be safe. I want it done right. And, you take a little extra time and you don't got to worry about that you put someone's life at risk and made a few $100 extra because you rushed that car that week and got it out the door and stuff. You want stuff to be safe.
Do you find yourself fixing a lot of other shops' mistakes?
All the time. That's literally one of the reasons we got into doing air suspension in the first place, was fixing another shop's mistakes on a regular basis.
Do you think people realize the amount of work that goes into it, or they think it's just...
No, especially with the social media nowadays, everything like Tony was saying, it's a quick, they open the door, roll the car in, and then the door closes, it opens back up, and the car's like slammed on the ground with something done to it. Okay. Or they do these videos showing the work, but it's like quick clips, so everybody just thinks it's easy. Look, I saw this guy do it. 30 second video. You should be able to install a full link in a day.
Yeah, you should be able to just do that real quick.
Like it's if you got a couple guys in a bolt-on style setup, you can do stuff like that. And I mean, we've done air ride installs in 1 or 2 days. There's some shops that advertise 1 day install, and it's like, dude, if you're doing the air ride install in a day, there's no way you're leak testing the car. You got to let the car sit overnight and make sure that it's not every time they start it, it's not going to have to wait for stuff to fill up and stuff like that. Yeah, things leak over time, and sometimes fittings and O-rings will go bad and stuff like that. But you want to make sure when people initially get their car that 90% of the time when they get in it and start it, the thing is aired up and ready to go, and they don't have to wait and stuff like that. Other shops, I have people come in and they go, my car, is leaking, it's doing this, and you literally air it up, let a car sit for 15 minutes, and one corner's on the ground again and stuff like that. And I mean, again, it's tough to get every car perfect, but we'd rather take our time and make sure that, the car sat for a few days, aired up, and people aren't going to have any issues, especially with cars with expensive body kits or wheels or something like that, and all of a sudden the car leans one way and destroys something. That happened, cars getting shipped out to SEMA years ago I'm talking 10, almost 15 years ago, and a car getting shipped from the East Coast out there. Somebody else did the air ride install and did a half-ass job, and the car leaked, and while it was in transport, the car leaked down and the bumper got broken and damaged, and I was helping touch up the bumper with touch-up paint and duct tape at SEMA outside the hall.
You didn't have social media when you started. Do you think that it helps or hurts the business side? Because now people are quick to just go on there and talk shit. Which they couldn't do before.
I feel like it's a double-edged sword.
It really is.
It's
definitely a double-edged sword. There's good and bad points to it. You can get your work out there, but also you can only get your work out there if you follow the algorithms. If you have, a certain way that videos you like and things they will stall your page depending on certain things, and you have to post so many times a week and do so many reels, so many lives. And now the big thing is, before with social media, it was just you post a picture. Then it was, okay, you got to post a quick video. Now you literally have to have the camera in front of your face and do like an interview type thing and talk, or else you don't get any traction on there and stuff like that. And like you said, it's a double-edged sword. People can talk shit real quick if they want. Another thing is like when one of the things that it drives me nuts is I have bigger long-term projects we get in here. And as soon as you post one of the quick jobs that came in for a quick air ride install that was in and out in a week or a few days, all of a sudden you post that car and everybody whose car is in the shop or everybody whose car is in line to get worked on is, hey, what's up? When is mine coming in?
Oh, that one's done. You got room.
Exactly.
You got room now.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, then I'm answering 1,500 questions and then, and it's tough to deal with. People got to realize just me and my father. He's semi-retired. I'm here full time. I answer the phone calls. I answer the walk-ins. I do the installs. I do the invoicing. I order the parts. I make sure the cars are happy. I test drive the vehicles.
Try to do the social media.
Like I do the social media. Like I do 15 jobs and it's one person. And people, that's the one thing people don't understand and get. Like we don't have a crew. People see our social media and the work that we do, and a lot of people assume that we got a handful of guys here working and doing this stuff, and it's not like that. And I got family. I got 4 kids, man, and they're more important than any project I got in the shop. And people need to understand that my kids come first, and I'm home trying to spend time with them. I'm not. When I was younger, we would work crazy hours to get stuff done, and
the kids were small.
The kids were younger.
Kids were small.
And now
they
they're
didn't
not.
know.
Now my oldest is 16, and he's here helping out, and it's hopefully I'll get to spend as much time with him working with me as I did with my father the last 20 years.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I got a question about the stereos. So, I think your stereos stand out over pretty much anybody else around here that I see. How do you come up with that? Like, how do you even come up with the design layout? Or do you just come up with things in your head that pop in your head, like, oh, this would look cool? Or do you draw it down? Like, take me through your processes. Like, okay, I got 2 12s and I got an amp. Do something.
Okay, so a lot of it is I don't know computers. I don't do CAD. So everything is either hand designed, hand drawn out. I'll do like a quick sketch on the whiteboard or like have an idea in my head and like look at certain things, and if the car's got a certain theme or something like that, or I'm doing a theme build and stuff, I'll kind of throw different ideas around, and a lot of the time it's draw all the stuff out as much as possible on the wood before you do a cut and lay everything in and try to plan as much as possible. It's definitely chess, not checkers, when it comes to that stuff, because you have to plan where every line, every fit in, every wire is going to go, and you want to do that before you start putting everything together, because then if you go, oh shit, I didn't think of that, and then you got to drill a hole for that wire or drill a hole for this line, you fuck up the material. I honestly, with a lot of the stuff with the designs I come up with, I don't know. I look at the shit afterwards and I go, wow, that's cool. And like, yeah, you made that. Like, I don't even know where I'd come up with half this shit. I don't know. Half these ideas just come to me as I'm building them. And that's what another thing, it takes longer with some of these custom trunks and these stereo setups is I'll get halfway through something and be like, I just don't like the way it looks, and I'll scratch half a build and start over with it just because
it's your name on it.
One thing didn't look right, and
your name on it.
Like it's something was off, or okay, this opening is a little too close to that. I could have spaced it back a little more. So like I do a lot of dry runs with the wood as far as designs and layouts, and it's a lot to do it that way. Some other, I unfortunately don't have the fanciest of equipment. I got a hand router, a jigsaw. We just picked up a CNC machine. I'm looking into 3D printers. But a lot of it is just trial and error and see how it looks. And I come up with the designs in my head, and I'll look at certain things and rearrange it and change it and make changes on the fly and kind of, a lot of it is the designs. I try to make things look as proportioned as possible and classy, and like stack colors. If the car's got a black and red theme and stuff like that, you got black and red vinyl, and then you get the black valve block, and you do red hard lines, and try to do that and take into consideration those little things to make it stand out from the rest. One of the big things is gaps, lines, and wrapping the fabric. A lot of places, they don't care when it comes to wrapping the fabric and stuff.
I feel like we've gotten many messages about, look at the fucking wrap job on this one, look at the corners, look at the wrinkles, look at the stretched out, it's so stretched out.
Half the time I'm like, I don't even know. I think it looks good.
I besides ADHD, I got OCD and it drives me nuts. I don't know. I've always like.
But also, if you're doing that, you know.
But it's because someone's giving you their hard-earned money, and your name is on that bill.
Yeah.
So you want it to go out the door 100% as perfect as you can make it.
Yeah.
People got to understand.
Yeah, it takes time to do things the right way, and sometimes, like I said, I'll get halfway through a design and it just irks me. Something doesn't sit right, something doesn't fit right, and 90% of other shops don't care. And that's the thing is, like, back in the day, you didn't have social media. Like, if you're good with social media and you can edit a little video and get likes and followers and then bullshit someone enough to have them spend their money on their car, and then you hand them a shit fucking install. It happens way too often. Back in the day, everything was built on my reputation and word of mouth. I didn't have the budget to go like advertise on the radio, and that's how it was 20 years ago. You didn't have social media. So now you got someone who thinks they're, Mr. Car Builder, and they can, get some TikTok followers, and then they hand out these half-ass installs, and they tell people they can do these certain things, and things lift, and I guarantee, everybody learns. I've done some shitty installs in my day and stuff like that, but that's the thing that sets us apart is that, we've got 20 plus years experience. My father's got 40 years experience. And that's just, with the things that we offer and stuff like that. We've expanded and we offer powder coating now. Pretty much like you said earlier, it's the one-stop shop. We can do 90% of what needs to be done here on one roof. And the great thing about that is we don't have some guy that's just making X amount per hour who's just an installer. At the end of the day, it's not his business. He doesn't give a fuck about it. At the end of the day, this is my business. I'm the owner, I'm the installer, I'm the designer. My name is on your car. If the worst thing is that you're mad I took too fucking long, great, be mad at me. But every time you get in your car, you turn your stereo on, you hit that switch, you're gonna be fucking smiling, and you're not gonna be mad at me anymore. Come in and yell at me when I'm working on it. Great. I might yell back. I might be a dickhead. I can be a grumpy fuck some days. But, I would rather you be mad at me that the car took longer than be mad that the car broke down on the fucking side of the road. And, it takes time to produce a quality product and do it right.
How does it feel to have, like, you go on social media and you see all these other companies reposting your work? Like, how does that make you feel?
Dude, it drives me nuts. It happens all the time. I have other like somebody.
No, I mean, what I mean by that, I mean like, Lowrider Depot.
Like our manufacturers. Okay, no. I thought you meant like when other shops steal the work that I do and then repost
I'm talking about like,
over
like
and over and over again, because they made two little panels and let's post this trunk setup 50
like big companies that you buy your products from.
It's a surreal feeling. Like I've had Rockford Fosgate share a bunch of my stuff, Airlift has shared my stuff, Flow Air. Seamless Tanks is a huge company that shares tons and tons of my work and stuff like that. And Kicker, like it's a surreal feeling to have gone from reading Car Audio magazine and seeing the Kicker solo barrett get released, and now Kicker's social media page has my trunk setups and my work on it. Like same thing with Rockford Fosgate. Like one year one of my builds made Rockford's top 9 on Instagram on their page. Like that's. Are you shitting me? Like that's a crazy feeling. I've said it, it's just surreal. It's kind of weird feeling.
Well, it helps validate your work too.
It definitely does. It does, but it's just, even talking about it, like it gives me chills and shit to think that major corporations that have built the automotive industry that we've all come to know and become a hobbyist of and stuff like that, share the work of some random dude from a small town in Massachusetts. Really cool. It's definitely surreal, and it's a weird feeling. It's a good feeling, like when you get all of a sudden you get that tag on social media of, again, that didn't exist back then. So like you had to like do something wild that would be in a magazine, and then if you had a feature in one of the magazines and stuff, like that was the big thing.
Oh, it's like the equivalent of a magazine.
It is now. It is. It's just done digitally now.
Well, actually, no, because now you get. Magazine, you might get, I'm just making this up, 1,000 people to buy the magazine.
Oh, you're going to get
where you go on Rockford Fosgate's page, you got 800,000 people looking at it.
Yeah, it's there is a lot more exposure, and that's why it makes it so much, easier for some of these newer, smaller shops that don't have the experience to get the exposure, get their name out there, and then all of a sudden, you got like what happened with T-Pain's drift car, and you got shops that just act like they can blow smoke up someone's ass and then go ruin their car and stuff like that. And I've seen it all too often. I've seen so many shops, like you said, come and go over the years, and places that have just been mismanaged. And that's the thing, is that people will crack under the pressure of the customer being upset that their car took longer, and they'll rush, they'll get it out, and then they never get that client back. That client bashes them for years because once you take a little longer beyond the date, they're already upset about that, which it's unfortunate it happens. Dude, especially after COVID, parts don't show up when they're supposed to, parts show up damaged or incorrect and stuff like that. Shit happens. If you're ordering parts from overseas, which, again, not everything's made here in the U.S. anymore, unfortunately, so we have to wait, and sometimes stuff gets messed up when it's getting shipped over here and stuff. So you never know what's going to take longer. Once somebody's upset that something took a few days longer, they're upset about it taking longer. Whether it's a few days, a few weeks, or a few months, they're still going to be upset it took longer. Anytime after that you just rush to get it for them because the pressure of them being mad at you, and then you fuck up, so now it took longer and their car fucked up, or nothing's right. It's not worth it. Just take that one hit, lose the little bit of time that it took to make it right. And I've had it happen more times than I can count, where people are upset the car took longer, like mad at me, yelling at me, like I've been threatened and shit. But then when they get their car back, it's a full 180, smile from ear to ear. And then I see him at car shows for years and years, and people are still getting to enjoy their stuff. My Mazda hatch, I built that for someone else, and that car was built in 2014. You pop the hatch now, there's not a lift in the vinyl, there's not a fade, there's not a wrinkle, a crack. All the wood is still in the same way it was 10 years ago, because I took my time and I built it the right way. And if you do it the right way the first time, it's going to take longer, but in the end you get a better result and a happy customer. That's how you built business back in the day. You didn't have social media to rely on as a crutch. You had to use word of mouth and friends and stuff, and you go to car shows and pass out business cards and stuff like that. And if you were lucky enough to have the money, you advertise on the radio and stuff like that, BCN, AAF, stuff like that, So, but
do you find going to the shows in person helps business, or does it not matter? Because you used to have to go out, and that's how you got your...
It was a lot more important to do that back then. Working a show makes it work. Like, you got to go there, you got to set up and stuff like that. You got to, sit in the hot sun at summer send-off and sweat your balls off. That's why we hide in the shade over
August
there.
August 17th. Cheap plug.
And June 14th.
June 14th.
June 14th,
that should be a cool day
first.
That should be a cool day.
Yeah, we won't melt that day.
But that's how it used to be. You used to have to go and set up and this is Sudden Impact. This is the cars that we did. This blah, blah. And you have to bring people in.
Yep.
And that's how, World of Wheels, you'd have a big booth or whatever.
Yeah, and that's how it was. And it's crazy to see, how things have changed in 20 years, because you're going from you have to advertise that way to now everything's advertised on social media. How you advertise and, promote your business, to how you do a basic air ride install, to how you do a basic stereo install. It's all changed so much in the last 20 years, and keeping up with it is just like, it's a shitload of work in itself just to keep up with it, let alone keep up with the workload of working on the cars.
Everything changes every day.
Dude, and technology has made it where it's advanced so much faster. Like, 3D printers, lasers, like laser printers like you got and stuff, like my CNC machine. That shit was like the elite of the elite. You didn't have that in a standard shop. Nowadays, most small
Amazon,
shops,
you can go anywhere and get anything.
And and a lot of smaller shops now will just, a lot of these kids now, when we had shop class, it was wood shop. You were cutting saws and you're doing certain things. You'd have, body shop class at the Votex and mechanics shop and stuff like that. And nowadays they have classes for 3D CAD design, 3D scanning, 3D printing. And like back in the day, like a graphics artist was someone who painted. Now the graphics art classes are all on a digital thing and stuff like that.
On an iPad, you can do it on an iPad.
That's exactly how it's done, and it's crazy to see how all these industries have changed like so drastically because of technology. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Except for like the painting industry, like you motherfuckers
Long
are
as
I got like,
Worst thing ever.
I can make $1 or $2. That's never gonna
never
go
paint
away.
that.
that was
Painting
one of
sucks.
my first. I used to do summers with my uncle up in
I hate painting.
North Shore, Concord, Massachusetts, and all summer long, 3 months long, I'd be out scraping houses, and he,
I hate
yeah. No, it taught me how to.
Tony's painting service. If you need me, hit me up.
He's not cheap. You saw that van? You saw that
It's
van?
not. If you want it done right, it's not cheap, people. That's all there is to it.
All right, so now I've heard you continuously talk about how you've owned your own business for 20 years, and before that you were working for somebody. I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot. What have been some of your favorite builds that you've partaked on?
Yeah, put me on the spot.
Why don't we do like top 3 and why? What made them special?
Well, like as far as like, unfortunately, some cars we get to do just the stereos, some cars just air ride. So like I've got one of the ones that is most memorable to me is a Riviera that we did paint, engine restoration, interior on. It was a full restoration on a 63 or 64 Riviera. I can't remember.
one?
Yeah, the green one.
that
We
was-
did it.
That was when you lowered my car. It was there.
Yes,
I remember,
yes.
yeah.
It came in as a forest green, and we repainted the car in a factory, closer to a factory olive green color, but it had a silver metallic flake in it. And we brought that car down to bare metal, front to back, like as far as you can go without a frame off restoration. It was a Texas car. Brought the whole car down to bare metal. Like it had no more than an 1/8 inch of body filler on any panel. We metal worked it, metal finished it, gapped it. The car was straight as straight could be, and my father laid down this absolutely flawless paint job on it. Did a little bit of a stereo, nothing crazy. We did a hidden radio in the glove box with the Marine radio controller in the center console, and 2 10-inch subs, small little amp and stuff like that. But overall, that was one of my favorite cars, just because we both got to put a little bit of everything into it, and that style Riviera, me and my dad both have a soft spot for. It's just one of the baddest looking cars. As far as trunk setups, I've done a couple wild ones that really stand out that are some of my tops.
It's got to be my Accord, right?
I mean, that's one of them,
My
honestly.
Accord has to be.
It's one of them. Like that trunk setup's pretty dope. It's old school. It's got hard lines, but you don't have a manifold in there. It's nice.
No manifold.
Yeah, no. Yours, I like yours.
I was only joking.
My Mazda is one of them. That was the reason I bought the car from the original owner of the vehicle, because that trunk setup was just one of those ones that just came to me and kind of fell together, and just it's still, like I said, it was built 10 years ago and still stands today. Like I can pop that trunk and it looks better than a lot of stuff that was done a year or so ago, let alone 10 years ago.
Say, that's the one that I think he took the money from the car and bought a bunch of lumber and made trophies.
Yes, yeah. Some of the other ones, like we've done some stuff that like very few shops have done. We did one car with titanium hardlines in the trunk setup. A friend of mine, Craig, a friend of yours too, his Lexus. That one was pretty wild. He basically gave me free run to do whatever I wanted to do in the trunk, and he had 3-piece wheels that were like polished lips with a brushed face, so we left the tank brushed, did polished brackets to make it match, and then he had titanium tip exhaust on his car, so we did titanium hard lines, and once we did those, we polished them and heated the corners so it had the blue and purple tinge to it. Another one, we did a newer modern Camaro and did a wild Rockford Fosgate flow air tank on the trunk lid, hard lines, two-tone.
That was the red one, right?
The red one,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
We
That
ended
was at
up
the show,
doing,
right?
that was there a few times. That one was absolutely awesome, like killer products. Client he literally came to me and goes, I want to win best trunk setup at every show I go to. First show we brought it to down at Mohican Sun, that he brought it to, best trunk setup. So it was like, that was really good feeling. Yeah, like when a customer comes in and says, I want you to top what you've done, and it's like, you know, when you're doing something like that, it's kind of tough because, you know, every time someone comes in, you kind of want to better yourself on everyone, but you're also limited on budget and what you can do.
Yep.
Other ones, like, cool ones that stand out, like your truck, we powder coated the wheels on that thing, but your box van is really cool. Jamie's Lincoln, our buddy Nick's Lincoln, like these cars that, you know, some of these hot rods and stuff like that, the blue C10 that we did, that you saw. Lucy is SUVs. We did 2 MDXs for a friend of ours, and both of them, she again gave me free rein to just do my thing and do a dope trunk setup, or hatch setup, I should say. Well, it's fun to have people come in and just kind of let you do your thing. They look at what you do, and a lot of people will try to pick what they want, but at the same time, they don't always know what they want.
Someone comes here and they say they want a trunk setup. Do you have a consultation with them and say, hey, what is your vision for this
Do
car?
they have input? Or is
Yeah, they do have input a lot of the time, and we've done like a couple theme ones. Like another friend of mine, we did his Hellcat with a Darth Vader theme, and other one we've done a Deadpool theme on a Dodge Charger recently. So sometimes people come in and they have ideas like, I want this, I want that, and I'll kind of, you know, pick their brain about what they want. And when it comes to other stuff that's not a themed setup, like I'll kind of like go over it with them in the consultation. Okay, the car's, you know, white with like red leather interior, and then, you know, of course,
you work off that.
you work off that, and you know, so okay, but of course the seats and stuff are red, but the door panels are black, the dash is black. So when it comes to like the trunk setup, okay, you know, red, white, and black are the colors you want to use, and like I said, I kind of like to contrast things so that way, you know, it looks good. You got 2 different colors, you know, against each other and stuff. And I always try to, as I'm building the cars and stuff like that, I'll bounce ideas off to people. Hey, do you like this? Do you like that? I think we should do this. And, you know, sometimes people will have more input than other ones. Other ones, people go, whatever you think, just do your thing and let me run with it and stuff like that. And that is when you get, honestly, the best results, when you just let me kind of sit back, do my thing, and figure it out as I go. The more time I have to figure those things out, the better result and better product you're going to get. All of them have like a spot, like, because of the major custom jobs and stuff like that. I've done so many basic bag jobs, I forgot so many of them, but some of the like bigger custom projects and stuff like that.
You can't leave out Mark's truck. He's gonna watch this.
Honestly, yeah.
He's gonna watch this.
Sorry,
You know
Mark.
he's gonna watch.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Mark. Yes, we're doing it, and we're here. Shout out to Mark. Again, that's
that one had skulls in the center console.
Yes, that had a custom skull in the center console, 2 skulls on the amp racks on the end of the box. My Ford Ranger was like one of my favorites. I drove that thing for like 10 years. Took it to all different types of shows and up and down the East Coast. That was the S10. That was the S10. Yeah, my old S10 back in the day. So that was the first truck I had with air ride.
So how many cars or vehicles have you had?
Oh, Jesus.
Have I had?
We need a whole nother episode for that. We need a whole nother episode.
Not right now.
I'd have to go through and count. I've had probably a couple dozen cars over the years. I own over a dozen currently. Different projects. I have a soft spot for old American metal, dude. Like, I've got the Mazda hatchback and stuff like that as my like daily. But like, I got some of my personal cars. I got a '60 Bel Air project, a '95 Suburban, 1979 Monte Carlo G-body. I intend to make that one like a train-in day type car, like with hydros and everything. I've got the Rat Rod Volkswagen that you like that I picked up. I've got the weirdest variety of cars, like a Rat Rod Volkswagen with skulls, a hatchback Mazda. It looks like it has a nuclear reactor in the hatchback for the stereo system and air ride. My Bel Air, my Monte, which again, that'll be hydros and a low rider. The Suburban, which is, you know, a mini truck and truck thing. I got a couple mini trucks, S10s. My Ranger is still sitting out there. It's toast. It rotted away. Sorry, people. I know some people missed that. But yeah, Mark's truck was wild. That thing was, you know, I grew up in, my biggest thing was mini trucks. That's what I was into in the like 90s and stuff. That was the thing. That was the big thing before the tuner scene. If you weren't into hot rods and muscle cars, like mini trucks were the thing before the tuner scene and the Fast and Furious scene came out. And
I feel like when I first like really started getting into cars, it was like I was getting Mini Trucking Magazine. But I wasn't fully invested in the trucks. Yeah. And then I was like, once the import stuff came out, I started loving.
One of the things for me, it was so where I grew up, it was on the Abington-Brockton line, right on the east side there. And you probably remember it. It was like a candy brown Blazer on hydros, like a square body Chevy S10 Blazer.
Okay.
And dude, this thing, the block we all hacky sacked on and stood on and hung out when we were kids. This guy drove by. He drove this thing to work and back every day in this Chevy Blazer on hydros, and every time he came by us, he'd either and jack the ass end up, or come by on side to side and shit like that, and like that just did it where it was like lowriders and mini trucks were like the thing for me. Like like I said, my first car was a Cutlass, and I wanted to put hydros in. I couldn't afford that shit, but I was lucky I had a stereo in it. But I put wire wheels on it and cut the springs and lowered it a little bit, and that was again, back then they didn't have lowered spring kits for a car like that. Like if you wanted to lower your Monte Carlo, there weren't spring kits in the 90s and shit. Now there is. Now there's kits for so much stuff. It's easier.
Do you have a preference on what you want to work on? Like something like this or something like a new Toyota or something like?
I definitely prefer older hot rods, muscle cars, and trucks and stuff like that. Like that's just where my passion is. I want to keep this old. They're becoming few. They're dying. Like it's slowly gonna get faded out, especially with the way the emissions are nowadays and the modern technology. Old cars had soul.
I mean, you're gonna start feeling it now that you're driving a truck. I feel like when you're driving something like that, it's like you're driving like you feel like history like it just feels like a completely different feeling.
It's got a soul because it was built by people on an assembly line who had their fucking hands on it. Modern cars are built by machines. That's why they don't feel that way. I don't want to get all spiritual and religious,
it's a
but
mix
cars
of
like that
history.
have a soul because people put their hard-earned work, their hands on it. They left an imprint on it when they built that car.
But they're also
and that car's been around for 70, 60 years, so it's got all those other imprints of people who drove it and owned it and did things with it. So
and the design to it felt like there was way more design aspect. Everything, like when I get in my car, the dash is this big, everything's cool. So it's like a mix of like your driving history and a mix of I hope I make it there.
In one piece.
Yeah.
Especially in the International. Don't want to lose any piston heads.
That's the most reliable. That's the most reliable vehicle I have. And I'm actually on the fence about
Holy
driving
shit.
to Syracuse now. I'm actually thinking about that.
Okay, what got you into cars? Like, how was it when what was your first custom car, and like, what got you into the custom car scene?
Well, I feel like I was always into car, like toys and shit. I always thought
Hot
movie
Wheels,
cars were cool.
Hot Wheels.
Not Hot Wheels, like the Back to the Future car, the Batmobile. I always thought those cars were cool.
Yeah.
And then as I was getting older, I don't know why, I just remember this fucking Camaro that I used to see all the time. It was a blue Camaro. I just remember seeing that and I'm like, that's so cool. I want a car with rims. Like that was my big thing.
Yeah.
And then once I got my license, it kind of took off, and everybody I was around was into import cars, and that's what I was hanging out with. So I started liking it, and then, my original thing, I wanted to buy a Mustang, and my dad was against the Mustang, so I bought his Dodge Stratus off of him, which was fucking so stupid. But at the time, I wanted something that I was like, nobody has this car. That's why I did it. And then Fast and Furious put everything. I know that's a corny. Everybody hates that answer. I liked cars before that.
It's crazy how much that movie changed the car scene back then. It really is. Like, what was your first like custom car?
What got me into cars was I remember being a little kid, and I remember in Brockton driving around, and there used to be a pink Buick Regal, and it had I feel like it said Bad Blood in the back window. Or Buick Regal, either Buick Regal or Bad Blood, and it had a big sticker on the back, and he would just have the hydraulics, and I'm like, holy shit, that's so cool. Like, you're in your mother's car, and you're like, oh, look at the car, there's a car.
Yeah.
And that was the car that I really, really liked. But I remember going to like the Wheels of Time at the Brockton Fairgrounds with like my stepdaughter that I was raising at the time, and we would just go around and we would look at all the cars and be like, oh, this is like really, really cool. Like, look at that. That doesn't belong on that car. Or, look at those wheels. Those wheels don't come on that car. And just over time, I was getting a haircut, actually. And Joey Gonzalez was like, yo, come here, look at my car. He had a blue Honda Accord wagon.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm like,
Next Level in Stoughton stuff.
Yeah, so I'm like, what? And he's like, yo, it's on the ground. I was like, is it all right? And he was like, yeah. So he was like the first person that I knew that had air ride.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hey, you should come to our meetings. I had my first car that I had was a 89 Volkswagen Jetta, and I remember getting earthquake subs. It had a big, huge box.
He had money back then. Earthquake was like, he's dropping names right now. Like that's like a name drop.
My first sub was I had a Sony Explode amp that was spray painted, and I had a MTX sub that was in a box, and the whole box was duct taped together.
I
And
thought
it
he was
all
going to say
stolen.
one of the Pioneer IMPP, like those
Mine was
ones
all
back in the
stolen.
day that had like the little Ohm logo on them and stuff that you get at Walmart.
When I went to, I was into the cars, but then going to the World of Wheels and actually seeing like custom cars.
Yeah, the World
Yeah.
of Wheels. Yeah.
I
That
was
was-
like, this is fucking
Yeah.
I remember
awesome.
that was one of the big things with like my dad growing up. Like we'd always go in every year, going to Boston, and he'd be like, you know,
That Bayside. That was
Yeah,
the best.
Bayside,
That was
yeah.
the best Bayside.
And I didn't even know what it was. I think it was Jess's cousin I went with, because I knew her family for a long time. And I remember going and just being like, this is insane. Like the amount of custom cars.
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was, to me. And then that kind of kicked it. And then once Fast and Furious came out, I was all in.
Yeah.
You know, all my money went into my car. Even though if you looked at it, you probably couldn't tell.
Hey, we all make mistakes. I got rid of a G body and bought a Mazda MX-6. I don't know what the fuck I
Do
was
you miss
thinking.
the like we talk about this all the time? I think car shows back in the day were way better. Would you agree? Or I don't know if you'd say better.
Well, like it's like
Enjoyable.
a lot of things if it was changed. Like it just like remember back in the day, like there was always car audio shops everywhere. Like even
Yeah.
small
Oh, yeah,
towns
yeah,
they were all over the place. And
I
now
just
it's
saw a TikTok
I did-
video about
yeah,
that.
few,
I just saw it.
it's few and far between now, and it seems like same thing with like shows where people actually put effort into them. Like back in the day, you had like Magnetic Mini Bash and all these like mini truck shows and World of Wheels and stuff and these bigger events, and like they were smaller ones, but there weren't as many smaller events. There was always just the major big ones that everyone went to. And now it seems like there's a lot of small little pop-up events and stuff like that, and that's why. And another thing, like these takeovers, these pop-ups, it just gives everything in the car scene a bad name. Like stupid ass shit with shutting down intersections and doing donuts and stuff like that. Like, and again, this is all another thing for everyone does it for social media clicks. People open their own shop for social media clicks now. People shut down intersections to do takeovers and stuff and all this stupid shit, man. And honestly, I'd love to see what half these shops and kids and these influencers did if we didn't have that shit for a couple of years. Like, then people got to actually go out and do, real work. You got to go out and actually put in the work on the car to get, that word of mouth people to bring more cars in and spend the money and stuff. And nowadays, it's quick clicks.
Do you think that people are still, like nowadays, going all in on a car, if that makes sense? Like when we were younger, you had exterior, interior, engine, trunk. You would touch everything.
And nothing was the same. Nobody wanted to be the same. I
Yeah,
should
yeah,
say.
yeah. But
everybody
nowadays,
wanted the different body
know,
kits or
It
or
seems
whatever.
like most of the cars now try to stay that like factory modified look.
Yeah.
The OEM,
Well, a lot of people
plus,
they don't
OEM
own, they
plus.
don't own their cars nowadays. A lot of people, that's one of the problems. But another thing is like the economy. Like everything's more expensive nowadays. Everything fucking
that's
costs
true.
more, especially after the last 4 years with the way inflation's been. It's been fucking nuts since COVID.
Yeah.
Everything costs twice as much. And that's one thing people have said to me. How come my trunk setup doesn't look like that one you did in that car that you did 5 years ago? Well, 5-6 years ago, I could do that same trunk setup for half the fucking price.
Yeah.
Materials were half the price. My shop's overhead was much cheaper back then, and people don't understand that. So nowadays everybody sees the same thing. So again, that's why a lot of people won't go crazy with a car, because not everybody can afford it nowadays. And then like with a lot of the younger generation, it's wheels, wrap, and air ride, or stance the car out and you're good to go. That's one of the reasons we want to cater to these older hot rod people. A lot of this is an older generation of guys that, a lot of them my dad's age now, they can't work on their own cars anymore.
Yeah.
These guys grew up wrenching on their own cars. Now they get a bad back, knees. They can't be out in the garage working on their hot rod. So that's why I want to continue to cater to that. I love doing all of it. Like working on this is my passion, but doing a trunk setup, that's where the ADHD comes in. It's great. That way there I can bounce from working on this trunk setup on this car to, okay, we're doing the floor pans in this trunk today and welding this together. Oh, I got to sand the chassis on this and weld some metal today. Tomorrow, I'll powder coat some fucking wheels. It gives me a chance to do all these different things. And what's great about that is when my kids take over now, if there's certain things they like to do better, I want to help them focus on their passions in the industry and stuff like that. If one of them would rather, learn the new stuff with 3D scanning, 3D printing, CAD and all that, great, let's do that. Let's focus on what you want to do in this industry and, take the next step. A lot of the stuff I do is, like I said, done with hand tools and primitively right now. And it's one of the things we're working on. We're trying to step into the 21st century with a modern wood shop and CNC machine, and I finally have a router table. Like, people see the work I do. Every piece that I make is cut with a jigsaw, hand routed, hand sanded. I see shops with CNC machines that can't do what I do by hand with a jigsaw in my own eye, and it's just because that shit didn't exist back when I started this stuff. It was all hand tools and stuff. Like, no normal shop could afford that stuff back then, so that's how I learned. And if you didn't put out a better product than the next shop, then you weren't getting business, and you weren't eating, and you weren't paying the bills, and your doors were fucking closed. So.
Do you have like a preference towards what you work on, as in like air ride, trunk setup? Like, when you come into work that day, do you go like, oh, I hope I'm doing a trunk? Like, when I go out in the shop, like if I have to make those little dogs, I'm like, fuck, I gotta make these dogs today. And
I
don't want to do. Dude,
Jax has his, dude. He tried to sleep with that thing.
I hate making those
little
things.
Metal dog. He's like,
but
I can't put it in bed. No, you're not snuggling with the metal dog.
They're so popular, everybody loves them, but I hate making them. Like, do you have something where you're like, damn, I have to do this today?
Some days when you're doing like the grunt work on dismantling a truck and you're getting nasty and dirty, and I don't care who you are, 90% of people don't like that shit. And that's, the trunk setups can be mentally strenuous, because trying to come up with a different design or a theme and, outdo what I did last time, or at least give somebody a quality product for what I'm doing. So those can be tough, and a lot of the time that's why they take longer. You got to take a step back. You got to clear your head, whether you fucking go have a drink or fucking smoke a blunt. You got to do something to kind of take a step back. And then sometimes that's a lot of the time when, you're sitting there frustrated of, oh, this isn't jiving, this isn't working. You take that step back, you go work on something else, cut some metal, grind, and take a break, and then all of a sudden you come back at it, and then boom, oh, that idea works, this flows. And, and a lot of the time people will, when they rush you to get something done, later on down the line you go, oh, I really could have done this way had I had another week on the car. I really could have brought it over the edge and made it that much nicer and stuff like that. And that's, like I said, one of the things I deal with I'd rather you mad I took longer than mad I gave you some half-ass install or a shitty car. But yeah, I prefer to, I like working on a little bit of all of it. Like I said, I like to bounce around and, if you get frustrated with something, work on something else. But my favorite thing is, like, when we get to do a full, like, chassis build like this and get to bring in old car and old truck and make it look old on the outside, patina, but then all modern suspension. You pop the hood, you got a modern LS, everything's pretty, all new control arms, modern geometry suspension, so the thing has modern brakes and stops and handles like a modern sports car. And then, that way you breathe life into these old cars again completely and stuff like that. And we try to make it where, we can make it affordable for everybody. Not everybody's got $150,000 to $500,000 to put into a car.
Jamie got it. Jamie has that in his pocket right now.
Is that what the duffel bag was for?
Oh, must be nice. Duffel bag must be nice. Street Trends Metal Lot doing big things. Must be nice. All right, so throughout sitting here with you, I've heard you mention a couple of things that have stood out to me. I've heard you say magnetic minis, I've heard you say mini nats, and I've heard you say SEMA. Give me a list of your favorite shows and why. Top three. Let's say top three.
Yours definitely one
Obviously
of them.
mine.
I've been doing yours. We've been doing your show for decades now, literally decades. I know you took a break for a little.
Still haven't got paid. All
right, guys, we gotta go. Bye.
Magnetic Minis, that was one back in the day that club put on, Envy Frenzy, those mini truck shows, the Nor'easter show that's coming up, these shows that just have, your show, that have a vibe to them, that you can tell that they're doing it to do it for the community. They're not a fucking money grab like most of these shows are, that just hype themselves up, charge a ton of money, put on a half-ass event, and bounce. There's people that, care about what they're doing, and you can tell the way their event is run. And those are the events I like to go to. Mini Truck Nationals down in North Carolina. We're actually heading out in a couple weeks, me and the kids and stuff like that. I literally drive down. I've been doing it for, this is like the 5th or 6th year in a row. It's like going back in time. The community feeling, the way the town is, and the way the town lets all these people come in and converge. They let everybody cruise up and down this 4-lane strip, and it's like going back in time, like when there was the little corner store with the penny candy, and you go in and you get a few drinks and sodas, and they got little like ice cream shops and all these mom and pop shops, and the whole town shuts down and does this whole event.
Embraces everybody.
And
That's dope.
it's really awesome. It really is. And like they kind of have a similar thing at the Nor'easter show that they do up in Laconia and stuff like that they're doing. I think
That's
it's
what we're going.
yeah, we're all
Was it the
planning on
9th and 10th, I think, this year?
yeah,
we'll be up there.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely gonna hit that this year. A ton of my friends go, great guys that put the show on and stuff like that. SEMA's if you're in the automotive, granted it's industry only, except for on Fridays you can get in now for the general public. But if you're into cars, it's a must-do event. Like period. Like you gotta go. There's very few places you can go and see a little of everything.
Yep.
You got tuners, you got drifting, you got burnouts, you got lifted trucks,
overwhelming.
lowered trucks. It is. It's crazy.
I remember my first year that I went. I just remember coming. What was it? Up the escalator,
Escalators
and I'm
coming
like,
down.
Holy shit, dude!
I remember when you guys
Like,
were
I thought it
getting
looked
the
big, but-
Mustangs drifting and stuff like
it
that.
looks
the
big,
Ford
but
my
you
first
see it.
time was on the monorail.
Yeah,
We
pulling
were on
right
the
up to it.
monorail,
Yeah,
and I was holding I remember I was holding the handle, and we came around the corner, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And we were early.
Yeah.
We weren't even. I think we went on like Monday.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things. After I opened the shop in 2004, in 2007 I got a paperwork. I didn't know what the hell SEMA was. It was a big deal to be able to be part of that, to get, to go there. And my first time seeing it, it was overwhelming to me too. To get the invite to go to something like that really felt like, okay, I've clearly I've made it somewhat, yeah. And then to be able to bring all you guys and show you guys it and stuff like that, and now I'm excited to bring my son out there and let him see it for the first time, and hopefully keep the spark going with him with what he wants to do to carry on this and stuff like that. So it's a must-go event. There's other ones
At least once in your life. At least
if you're
once.
an automotive
I
enthusiast,
totally
you have to
think
go.
so.
The thing is, it's supposed to be for people with passes only that are in the industry, but the outside areas, like when you get off the monorail, like you guys said, listen, everybody, it's open to the general public. They don't check passes outside.
And
you
then-
can walk around outside
Yep.
and get in there and get to see
You could spend a whole day outside.
crazy
Yeah.
shit, dude. Like bigger car show than you'll see anywhere else, except for the World of Wheels and
Yeah, no, it's
Grand
definitely-
National Roads to show and stuff like that. But outside's bigger than 90% of car shows you'll
I
ever
remember
see.
seeing it on the automotive shows I watched on
Like Meekum
the-
or
yeah,
the
and stuff.
McGuire's when they
Yeah.
would have their channel and
And I
stuff
remember
like that.
being like, I want to go to that one day. And dude, going there is a completely different
It's
thing.
very,
fucking
very,
crazy.
like you said, it's very overwhelming. You're walking in a building that's.
You get home and you look on and you see a build on Instagram. You're like, I didn't even see that. How the?
Yeah,
Like you
and
saw
you're
all this stuff.
you were in the same hall 20
like,
feet
holy
away, but
shit,
didn't see
'cause
it behind the
there's so
curtain.
much
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and it's overwhelming. But it's one of the few shows you can see everything. Like
Yeah.
there's literally one car, you turn around, there's a Bentley here, then you got a Lambo, then next to it's a Pro Mod with 5,000 horsepower, sand rail or drag rail or something crazy, and it's a little bit of everything for everybody.
My favorite part will forever be the parade. That'll be my forever favorite part, for the simple fact that you see these cars and you see them parked, or you see them on TV, you see them on social media, whatever, but you actually see them driving.
Yeah,
That's
no,
my
it's-
favorite part.
Yeah.
You see them driving. They're not, you see, like you said, one minute you see a Bentley, the next minute you see a truck 20 feet off the ground, next thing you see a speedboat, next thing you see someone with a quad, but you actually see them driving.
Yeah,
They're not.
It's an experience.
They're not all trailer queens.
Would you ever
No.
consider doing as a shop build full SEMA build car? You know what I mean? Like
The
you
only-
got these extensive and devious, and all these people go out there and go, all right, this is our present this vehicle that we built.
It's if like you just mentioned, a lot of those shops are already out in the Midwest or in Texas. They're
location,
closer.
yeah.
Location makes it tough. We've had cars. The car that was on the I mentioned earlier, the Rockford Top 9 thing on Instagram. That car went out to SEMA, and it's a lot to ship a car all the way out there and then go out and make sure it's here. And with that car, I was told that car's in a booth and it's going to be inside and it's going to get all this and that. And no, the booth was inside, but the car was stuck outside in a parking lot. So we did this build for exposure, and then and no one gets to see the damn things. It's a lot to ship a vehicle out there properly. It's a lot to build a vehicle of caliber. I mean, granted, we've all seen some shit at SEMA that you go, wow, that's nice. Bluetooth drive shafts left and right. But I mean, like, it's a lot to build a vehicle of that caliber and then ship it, and it's a lot of money to ship it, to take a week off to go out there, to get it set up, get it at the event. Like,
then it's work again. It's not
the
fun
guys
because now you're standing by the vehicle explaining. People are going to ask you questions or whatever. Now you're working again.
B is for builds that it cost us $4,500 to ship their car.
Yeah.
So,
and that's from Seattle to Vegas.
Yeah.
That's not from Massachusetts there and back.
Yeah.
Like the car that
we
did back then, which I want to say was like around 2017 or 18. It was 2018. I wasn't at SEMA the year that car was actually there for that client, but it ended up being like, I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000 round trip for his car, Alex's car, from 742, his Mitsubishi. So I that was back then before fuel was close to the cost it is now and stuff like that. So,
is there a show that you want to build a car and bring it to at all?
I mean, every year summer send off is our mini SEMA crunch that we have every year. Every August I get nailed with everybody wanting their car ready and little details fixed and stuff like that.
It's so expensive to fucking go.
All right, guys, I gotta go again. All right, guys.
No, like you said, I want to go to SEMA not so much to have a car in the show, but I would love for, a group of us one year when we're going, let's get a truck together, ship a bunch of our personal toys out there, one of them, and just cruise them on the fucking strip. How much fun did we have driving scooters on the strip? Like
that would
be cool. But if I was in Vegas, I'm drunk the second I got that. So
you can just ride shotgun. Yeah, no, you leave your stuff here. Your truck would. Remember, if we saw a car break its bumper going out there, your truck would come there and half the piston figures would be missing and shit. No, I've always wanted to bring something out there and cruise the strip and stuff, though. I think it'd be really cool to just drive something and get shots of, cruising by the casinos and the lights and stuff like that. And,
there's one car that you have that I think would actually look really, really dope on the strip, driving down the strip. Suburban.
Yeah, I know.
I think the Suburban would look sick driving down the strip.
Yeah.
Really, really
Do you have anything as like a shop goal that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Jeez, I want to kind of step into the 21st century with modern equipment and do some, the 3D printing, 3D scanning. I kind of have to. Yeah. We have to step in and step up to the times. It worked for 20 years doing everything by hand, and I've built a killer reputation doing it, but I really need to automate some things. My hands are getting beat up. I'm 43 now. I'm not a young kid that can work 3-4 days in a row overnights to get a car done for a show and build stuff in 5-6 days that should have taken 5-6 weeks like I used to when I was younger. So I need to do that, and I think that'll also make it easier for my kids to take over doing some of the stuff automated wise. Like I said, everybody's got 3D printers and shit. So as far as I need to build a car for myself again. Like the last time I built one was my Ranger, and that's one of the things I want to do for the shop is have a few different builds for a few different events where, like, if we're doing some mini truck event, have my Suburban. If we're doing a hot rod event or something like that, have, my Bel Air. If it's a low rider thing, like one of the...
Like a shop truck, basically.
Yeah.
Advertises your business.
Yeah. I want to build a few different ones. I want to have a different car for every, like I got the Mazda, and I kind of want to have a car for every event to show all the different things that we are capable of doing. And again, like that's one of the things is people think there's more people here than there are, and there's only two of us because we do trunk setups, upholstery, engine swaps, engine builds, frame off work, paint, body, interior. It's a lot that we do, and I think that our reputation a lot of time is, I don't even know how to say this, like it basically like it I have to try to outdo myself every time and stuff like that, and my customers expect that from us to do something quality and better than the last time.
But that keeps you motivated.
Yeah.
Keeps you motivated.
It does.
If you're just pumping out the same trunk every car, you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
This one wants it in blue instead of black. All right, let's get.
Yeah, you want to do something different every time and give somebody something unique that goes with them and their style. Like I said, we could sit down and do a consult on a car, and depending on what we're doing, and I like to get a feel for that person, and like when we're doing a trunk setup or something else, the interior, get a vibe for them and who they are and stuff like that, and kind of make it so that their vehicle is an extension of them.
Before we wrap up, we'll have you give us a little.
Yeah, let's go over some of the stuff that we're working on and stuff. I'll give you show you some of the different things that we're working on in the shop and give you guys a little tour of where we make the magic happen and make a mess and build everybody's dreams. Cool.
Hi. What's going on with this?
All right, so this thing here, this is a 66 Chevy C10. We're doing a full Porter-built front crossmember kit, which replaces all the stock suspension, cradle, and everything with a new setup with modern rack and pinion, tubular control arms. We're going to take the entire chassis, strip it down, paint it, powder coat it, make everything new. Doing like a full firewall shave kit, full interior. We're going to make it so that the outside of the truck is still patinaed and looks like an old farm truck, but is fully laid on modern suspension, full air ride. It'll lay body dropped on the ground. We've got a LS 4.8 liter and probably a small turbocharger. But we're going to keep the truck to look like an old farm truck, except for all modern amenities. All the bag mounts. Porter-built makes a killer kit for these trucks that just bolts right up and in and gives you all modern stuff, stiffens everything up. It's got LS motor mounts, everything that we need to make this thing run and drive like a modern sports car. So this one here, this is a 56 Chevy Bel Air 4-door. Came in, it's already been LS swapped and done. Came in for a full air ride system. We did a complete Ride Tech 4-link system, welded that all in. It's got Ride Tech shock waves. We ended up doing a whole new floor pan in the back of this car because the trunk floor was rusted and rotted. Got Willwood disc brakes. This thing's got all the modern goodies. Vintage air AC, LS engine that's built and cammed, and we'll go down the road and he'll be able to enjoy it for years to come. The suspension is all tubular control arms, front and rear, air ride shock waves. Full digital airlift, 3-piece system for height controlled air ride. Things that we do is all the little detailed stuff to make sure that you can get in your car, you start it, you go down the road, and there's no headaches with it. So yeah, this there is the oven. It's big enough to put a cow in, but yeah, we do powder coating in this thing. Wheels, suspension, anything that's metal, we can put powder coat on it. Jamie's showing off the personal collection over here. I'm waiting for the must be nice, must be nice.
I thought you were just storing Tony's wheels.
Yeah, this is where some of the magic happens. So yeah, this is under construction right now. We're in the middle of doing, no, I'm still in the middle of doing the construction. I still got to do sheetrock, wiring. Got a heavy duty industrial dust collector that's in a secondary room over here. We're getting that set up. I got a new router table, new industrial table saw instead of the old little Ryobi one that we were using. And I'm going to set up the CNC machine, and then that way everything will have one central dust collection system. Everything will be set up so that way there I can make things a lot quicker, easier, and more automated so that way I can get stuff done faster for everybody.
Are those shapes that you already had like pre-made?
Yeah, these are just templates that you can use to router out the holes for the woofers, or a lot of that I'll use to draw some of the shapes and stuff like that I have, so that way there I can come up with different designs.
So you're not cutting them every time?
Yeah, not every, just the standard cuts like that. Sometimes I'll do like the standard oval ones and stuff like that, but this company, Mobile Solutions, actually makes a ton of different templates for stuff like that we use for the routers and stuff.
So for anybody watching this, why don't you tell them, what they can expect with working with you in regards from their build?
They can expect a quality install, quality product at the end of the day. We try to, do our best to produce the best quality product as far as an install, whether it's your air ride, your audio, restoration, paint, any of that stuff. Just understand that we don't just sit there and look at the car sometimes and things take longer. It's not like we're slacking on it. Sometimes, certain ideas don't flow, and we just we try to do the best we can. We've based our reputation on building the best quality product, and we're not going to stop. And, unfortunately, I might get a little slower in my old age, but, I'm still going to produce something that's quality and it's going to last for years and years so that people can enjoy their cars. They're spending good money. They shouldn't expect something to be half-assed, rushed, and slapped together. We're not that type of shop. If that's the type of work you expect and you want something done next day, rush, don't come here. We're not that type of shop. Like, we're going to take our time, do it right, and produce something that's quality, something that's going to last, and something that I can be proud of because my reputation's on the fucking line.
I just want to say, personally, thank you for your friendship for over 20 years. I've watched you from like you said, your one bay shop to a much bigger shop. You continuously keep changing the game by going out to SEMA, seeing what's new, staying ahead of the game, coming back here and helping the car show scene with getting us up to par with changing the game. Instead of just basic trunks, now you're doing your LEDs, you're doing you're doing powder coating, you're doing all that stuff. So from me, Jamie, you worked on Jamie's cars, everybody's car that you worked on, we appreciate what you do for the car show scene here and helping evolve it and helping us stay up with the times. So I want to say personally, thank you for your help.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone who's brought their cars to me and, given us the chance to evolve as a business and work on you guys' rides and stuff like that. It means a lot. People entrust their hard-earned money and their car. People's car are an extension of them. So if they're willing to trust me to work on that means a lot right off the bat. So we try to always do the best we can and produce a quality product for everybody.
If someone's in the market for air ride, car audio, anything of that sort, how can they get a hold of you?
There's a few different ways. Everybody's on social media nowadays, Facebook, Instagram. You can direct message us on there. Both those have links to call our business line. We have our landline that we've had for 20 years. Our shop number is 781-447-1918. Once we start, figuring out your build and do it, though, I prefer to keep a lot of the contact on text message so that way things can be double checked and things were set on this date, because if everything's done over the telephone and conversations or even in-person conversations, sometimes things get forgotten and stuff like that. So if the communication is done through social media or through something like that, it makes it a lot easier to go back and recheck those texts and stuff like that. So it just makes it easier to run the business nowadays. We have all three options. We got the phone line for, people that would rather call and stuff like that. We got social media, both Instagram and Facebook. We don't have TikTok or X at the moment. I don't have enough time to have 15 different platforms to run.
Nope, no problem.
But yeah, those three ways are the best way to get a hold of us.
Well, we thank you for giving us your time after hours.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the local scene.
See you guys soon.